Hi everyone, this is Callie for Simon Says Stamp. Today's card is a really simple paper pieced card, and I'm also going to use some coordinating stamps on this cozy birdhouse card. And the stamp set that I'm using is called For the Birds, and it kind of coordinates with the Birdies dies that I'm going to use. You'll see here in a little bit. So the Birdies dies here is a paper piece die set, but it coordinates with the For the Birds stamp set. And you'll see here that the branch is exactly the same as the branch on the stamp. However, the stamp, when you stamp it and die cut it, it's got a coordinating die that's going to cut that outline. So if you want a branch without the outline, then you'll want to use the die. But anyway, these products coordinate together, and I love that it also works with this cozy birdhouse die set. So I'm going to use all three together to create my little birdhouse scene today. From the stamp set, I'm going to stamp a few leaves here with some VersaFine Clair ink, and I'm also going to stamp the sentiment from the stamp set because there are coordinating dies, and I absolutely love when there are coordinating dies. I'm stamping with the VersaFine Clair ink, and then I'm going to emboss all of this with some clear embossing powder. That way I can color those leaves with some Copic markers and it'll be alcohol friendly. And then we have a shiny sentiment that we can use later on when we're done with our project. So I'm going to heat emboss this once I've sprinkled on some clear embossing powder, and then I'm going to use some Copic markers to color these leaves. Coloring on these is super simple. I'm using 3 markers in total: YG11, YG06, and YG09. So the smaller, thinner areas of these leaves are going to be darker. So I'm using the darker 2 colors, blending from dark to light towards the top. And then I'll use the medium and light color to blend the bigger sections of the leaves. So 2 colors per section, 3 colors total. And off camera, I'll die cut that sentiment and those leaves with the coordinating dies, and then I'll set them aside, and now we're going to be working on the background. I'm using the cloud line stencil, and I love that this stencil is one piece, but you can shift your paper and tuck it in to the cloud design that you want. I'm going to use some sky ink and just ink blend really light-handed towards the center. Now, if you want those clouds to stand out more, you can use a heavier hand. I just tend to blend with a lighter hand, and sometimes I wish that I could go a little bit darker, but it is what it is. And so here I am ink blending and shifting my paper between the 3 different cloud designs, and just shifting my paper so that I can get a variation of the cloud designs in the background with this sky ink. I'll finish up with my final row of clouds here, and I'll just repeat that second layer of this stencil and shift it to the left a little bit so I can get a different design for this final row of clouds. All right, so once I finish this, I'm going to go ahead and set that aside as well and set up my work surface so that I can start ink blending all the little pieces from the cozy birdhouse dies. Now I die cut all of the pieces on this birdhouse in white so that I can add color with ink. And I'm using a small craft tacky mat to hold down all of these pieces as I ink blend. And the reason why I'm ink blending the birdhouse and not using colored cardstock is because I want a specific coral pink color. So I'm starting with white cardstock, and on the main base of the birdhouse itself, I wanted it to be white. So I'm adding a little bit of shading with this fawn color and ink blending from the bottom up to give this birdhouse some color. I left the shutters in white cardstock, but we also want a backing for this birdhouse. So I've just cut a little piece of paper here that I'm going to ink blend the same color as the rest of the pieces. I wanted a really bright, happy color, so I'm using blush, and I'm going to ink blend all the pieces. For the backer piece, I am doing a dark to light gradient. And I'm using a really heavy hand on that piece because I really want the birdhouse to look like it's got some depth to it once it's adhered to the back of the birdhouse. So I'm going to use some 3D foam squares as well because that's going to add some more depth and dimension to the birdhouse. I'll add those 3D foam squares to the back of the birdhouse, and before I adhere it down, I thought it would be best to go ahead and adhere the birdhouse details to the front first. So I'll use my craft glue here to adhere the trim and the roof and all of the other elements. To ensure that I've lined things up correctly, like with the roof, I just look on the back side and make sure it looks even on the back because you can't really tell from the front whether or not it's perfectly centered. So that's just a helpful tip if you are worried about not centering things properly at the bottom and top of the birdhouse. I did the same with the bottom trim. I just flipped it over and made sure it was centered. And then I'll add these little white shutters as well. And once all the pieces are adhered on the front side, I can take the backing off all those 3D foam adhesive squares and adhere my inside backing piece. And then to adhere it to my card, there's already some exposed 3D foam squares, so I'll just add some liquid glue on the birdhouse and attach it to the center of our background panel. Then I'll attach these little branches that I've die cut from wood grain cardstock, and I'll adhere those down and then use some 3D foam squares as well as some liquid glue to add these leaves that I colored to give the tree a little bit more color and dimension. I'm adding a small cluster of 2 leaves to the ends of each of these branches here. The smaller one is being adhered with liquid glue and the bigger one is being adhered with 3D foam squares to give it more interest and dimension. And then I'll flip another branch and adhere it to the bottom of the card and add another cluster of leaves on the one branch on the left side. On the right, I decided that's where I'm going to put the sentiment since I only colored 6 leaves. So that was a good solution to not having to stamp and color any more leaves. I'll use my scissors here to trim off the excess branches that are hanging off the edges, and then I decided to repurpose this little branch here and add a bit more of a hanging limb to the branch at the top. So after I adhere that piece down with some liquid glue, I'll cut off the excess of that as well. And now I'll piece together these 2 little birdies that I've die cut in 2 different shades of teal and purple. And I love how easy it is to put these little birdies together. The shapes of their bodies and their little wings is just adorable. So simple and so easy to put together and adorable at the same time. I've added the wings and now I'm adding their little feet. I find it's easier to add the adhesive to the feet itself and then to position the bird's bodies over it before pressing them together, as opposed to adding liquid glue on the back of the body. That way there isn't a bunch of excess glue on the back of the body as you try to position where you want the feet to go. Next, I'll add their little beaks, and I know positioning of beaks and eyes and stuff can really change the look of these little birdies, but I'm just eyeballing it, and you can kind of create your little characters how you want based on where you adhere their beaks and eyes. I am adding 2 little drops for the eyes of adhesive, and then I'll use the little die cut black eyes here to adhere to those little birdies, and then I'll position them where I want them on my card, and they're going to both be sitting and chilling out at the base of the birdhouse. Finally, I'm going to add the sentiment over there where I didn't have any extra leaves and adhere this to a card base. And before I finish, I do want to add some sequins to kind of act as a filler for some of those open areas on the card and to add a little bit of bling and shine as well. I'm using some Tidal wave embellishments here from our new mix. And I should mention also that all of the products that I use, except for the Cloudline stencils, is all from the latest Friend Like You release from Simon Says Stamp. So if you're interested in any of the products that I'm using, be sure to check out the links below because everything will be linked for your convenience. And I'll have it all listed on the blog as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this project. These products are so much fun and I love that they coordinate, and I was happy that I was able to create this card for you today. Thanks again for watching and have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.